may lend itself to, oh, Jesus. That's decent. It's definitely an NVIDIA card. OpenAI has come out with a new image generation model called ChatGPT Images, and I am almost laughing right now because I was just going through some of the samples that they showed within this blog post, which we're going to take a peek at now, and some of them were rather funny. Regardless of that, this is pretty exciting because obviously Google's Nano Banana Pro is all of the rage in terms of image generation and editing, so having a contender to that, regardless of even seeing how this performs, is in and of itself exciting. So let's just take a quick peek at this, and then we'll go ahead and just get to some testing, as realistically that's the fun part. So to begin, for anyone who actually is having trouble accessing this, I would just advise going to this specific blog post, clicking on the ChatGPT Images thing right there, and then it will bring you to this pretty new page which has a lot of inspiration and things of the sort. Now, I'm going to be completely transparent right now. My images are listed as these two things. I have zero recollection of generating either of these. I am quite happy that there's nothing weird in my image history. However, I am perplexed at where these came from. Regardless of that, we can now just take a peek at this. They talk about editing. They basically talk about everything pertaining to image models that folks would find interesting, such as the ability to change clothes of people, turn people into superheroes or action figures, change specific things in scenery. They say that this is hypothetically more able to preserve finite detail, as well as change specific fine details within images without messing other things relating to them up. So they do have some interesting things here. Now, when we scroll down, we see this, and when reading this, I just saw combine the two men and the dog, and I was like, I'm sorry. I've been up for quite a while, and this is just kind of interesting. Again, some of the examples here are quite interesting, to say the least. Something that tripped me up when looking at these comparison examples of the new version and the old version of the image generation was that the new results are here on the left. I, for some reason, thought they would be on the right, and I just quickly scrolled through this and I was like, oh my god, this thing sucks. Like, when I saw this has that awful, like, AI tinge to it, and I assumed that was the new one, and then I realized it's not. This is the new one, which is obviously significantly better. Then there's just some more comparison things here, but really, instead of just kind of spend the whole time on this article and not actually do anything ourselves, I would like to go ahead and jump into some testing of this. So with that, we're going to go ahead and hop right in. So we're just starting out with the Agent Poopman movie poster test. They did mention something about speed as well in terms of an increase in speed, and we're going to do a couple of different things in this test. One, we'll just try stock image generation, or what I mean by that is from a text prompt generating an image. However, I am very interested to check out some of the image editing capabilities here as well, so we'll try that too. Creating image, Agent Poopman mission in Deep Doodoo. Oh, so we do actually get some form of chain of thought here when it is generating, which I'm not opposed to. Although, I think displaying the unfinished image in kind of a blur here may lend itself to, oh, Jesus. I can't even, this is not right. No other model has taken the movie title so literally, if you will. There's a plunger. We have our secret agent. Good God, why did I do this test? I should just cut this and restart the video and be like, okay, we're going to do an image of like a horse. All right, let's just take a look at this. Okay, all right. The fate of the world is in Deep Doodoo. Agent Poopman. And we have like some hand-drawn helicopter, a toilet, some form of sports car-like vehicle, which doesn't look like any one specific existing car. It almost looks like an Alpine sports car. Coming soon. We have the generic text and things like that. We obviously have the what I would assume, so I would assume that this individual here would be, of course, the protagonist. This seems to be the antagonist, and then perhaps like a additional love interest. I have no idea. I'm going to give it the image of myself with this Honda Beat, and I think I'm going to say turn this into a realistic book cover, but it has to come up with the actual book title and everything like that as well. So we'll see what happens here. Regardless, it can't be worse than what we first saw, So far, I like what I'm seeing. Okay. A Journey Through Classic Cars by I'm just going to ask it now. The book is supposed to be self-help rags to riches style, and we'll see how it goes ahead and changes the approach. Okay, so same author, but it changed it from dreamer to doer. How I went from broke to building my dream garage, turning passion into success by Bill Colson. And okay, it does the mock-up of the book here. I don't quite know what I expected from this, so therefore I don't really have any subjective comments about this. I'm doing a hard mode one now where I've given it a relatively low res photo of myself as well as a decently resolution photo of a Saab 900 Turbo, and I've asked it to place the man in the photo with the car. I'm already suspicious of what I'm seeing. The blur, it's going to make me like 4 times larger than a human should be. I can already tell. Did it? Okay, well, I have good things to say and I have bad things to say. I do feel that it may have accentuated my double chin, perhaps a bit more than reality. Aside from that, it did a good job continuing the shirt fabric. For some reason, I am married in this one. And then kind of the whole biggest issue here is the fact that this car is probably like 33% of the size it should be considering this photo. It did keep the overall 80s aesthetic of the photo like over myself as well. But the big problem is probably just the scale here is quite terrible. It doesn't seem like it responds to my snarky follow-up comments, so I've given it a screenshot of my YouTube channel and said change all the thumbnails to make them look like something that would have a much higher click-through rate, which is basically just a metric of how often a video is clicked when shown to a select group of people. Now, I tried this previously with a model and it went ahead and changed nothing, which was very, very much of a compliment. However, I'm not so confident in this just based off of the Agent Poop Man disaster. Oh, yep. Okay. Wow. Damn it, these are... I got some thinking to do. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like them any more than you. The facial stuff, I detest it. It does work. And these do, in some way, perhaps seem like they may have a little more draw to them, especially these, like the explosion background ones. Though I'm going to say it did completely mangle most of the text that it tried to put back in, which is somewhat disappointing. I'm going to be totally transparent. I do find this funny though. Anti-gravity destroyed. And it's put like the Mistral icon along with, and then DeepSeek versus antiquated Mistral last test. That sounds concerning. DeepSeek better GPT-4. Okay. Gemini 3 limits tested. Vibe coding shocking with like a new LLM battle Rove. DevStral 2 shocking results. I think this one's probably going to be the winner out of all these that I see. All right. Again, I don't necessarily have much to say. The results can speak for themselves. I'm going to try one of the default examples here. I don't necessarily want to do this, but I feel that this may kind of attribute to some of the lackluster results we've seen, is when I do select that default example prompt, we see that the actual prompt right here is significantly more intricate than what I've been giving it. So there is a possibility that you need to do that, but I don't know. I already don't like this. I'm already uncomfortable. At least I don't have a double chin in that one. Now I'm conflicted because I do want to enhance my prompts, but then again, when going back through the examples given here in the blog post, there's nothing really insanely detailed here. Okay, well, at least for the bottom one down there. I've gone ahead and crafted a few prompts that are far more intricate and detailed just to really test what this model is capable of without just giving it like some one sentence things, which I do have to argue they did show here as well in some certain scenarios, so I don't feel too bad about it. But I like doing the retro LAN party style image test as I just find it to be pretty cool. So I'm interested to see how it does with a relatively detailed prompt that kind of points out a lot of specific things we'd like to see. Now, this is perhaps where my opinion begins to change a bit on this model. Prior to this, I was kind of like, wow, this is very unhinged. Seeing this is Okay, aside from the Dokitos chips that we have right here, this is one of the better results I've seen for this prompt, and I mention that in specific based on the way this individual's hands are resting on this keyboard. Nothing here looks visibly very mangled at all. We do have old Pizza Hut boxes, a bunch of empty cans of what I presume to be Mountain Dew. I could read the prompt again. This guy's in a Metallica shirt, which is interesting. There's some headphones on, and they do have the old coil style, which is interesting. This individual here does look somewhat possessed, however, he is staring. And again, when doing a test like this, it may seem silly at first glance, but realistically, attention to detail in this could be how many desktops are there for each monitor and things of that sort. So you want to see how well it's grounded in terms of like realistic detail. So here's 1 tower, 2 tower, 3 tower, 4 tower, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 monitors right there. So relatively decent in that regard. Then something else over there. We have wood panel on the wall with a Matrix poster and this odd Got Milk poster, which for some reason did just trigger some like latent memory within my head. So perhaps those were actually a real thing back in the 90s. And again, I mean, if we try to look at what's on screen, it's a little harder to see, but all of the graphics do look as one would expect to see in this era. And really the only big like weird thing here is the Dokitos, but you know, it's not bad. This is really not bad at all. Now we're looking for a surreal photograph that captures the inner monologue of an LLM when responding to a user's query. Anyone interested can kind of verbosely read through this prompt as it sits on screen right here, but basically we're just looking for some interesting result here that may be kind of relatable to the actual technical functionality of an AI, but in an aesthetic and ethereal way. Oh no, I'm sorry, but like this specific thing right here, you may be this just looks like very early AI image generation kind of style and aesthetic. Though we have some text here, again, this is really quite small and difficult to see, but the research suggests, in summary, it's possible that, in contrast, further analysis shows, is this almost a joke where it's basically using some of these specific AI phrases that we've come to know and detest over the years? It's just kind of interesting. Overall, I'm not 100% sure what I would have expected from this, though I am not as impressed with this as I am with the Dokitos retro LAN party. I don't know, I'm probably going to regret this one, but place the man in the portrait with the woman in the green dress. I am just looking at my nano banana photo here just to see what I can specifically kind of test this with, as well as how intricate I was going with the prompts with that one. I really wasn't. So that's good though, because I kind of like the more casual one sentence stuff, almost how a casual would hop in and use this. They're not going to be sitting there typing out like a 4-paragraph prompt. Make of that what you will. This is perhaps panning out to be interesting. Intimate portrait in vintage setting. God damn it. It did a great job. It really, this is well done. Whether or not I'm a fan of the result is aside from the fact that this is quite a decent result. Let's just, all right, not bad. It did, and it kept detail from the original in terms of like the painting in the background and stuff like that. Overall, actually, this is impressive in my opinion, because look at this headshot that it has to go on. There's really not a lot here. Okay, it's probably not horribly difficult to figure out that this is like a light blue sweater thing with a shirt, so it shouldn't be that hard to draw the rest of it, but just overall keeping the style of this image on the right here and adding myself in is well done. My heart is telling me I'm not yet finished with this specific test. All right, we'll kind of see where it takes this. Oh no, I just... That's decent. It's definitely an NVIDIA card, and it is also a Founders Edition. So, wow. Technology is, in fact, quite weird. So I just went ahead and tried one of the default examples they had, which was create a holiday card. And I just uploaded this photo of myself shaking hands with the modified Mechano robot. So this may be kind of interesting. It's black and white. Maybe it'll give us like a Hallmark style. I don't really know that I'm a fan of this blur thing prior to seeing the photo. I understand it may be done there to make it seem like the photo does not take that long to generate. I'm not, I'm, this is a concerning shape. Okay, good. All right. I'm actually really impressed with this for a couple of reasons. One, because I may actually have to get a few of these printed and send them to people because it's hilarious. But two, I mean, the way it cut everything, even this strand of hair that's almost like you normally would just probably see that cut off. This did a really good job of keeping the main focal points of the image of myself with the robot, but taking them out of the background they were in and placing them in this interesting holiday scene. Also, the pillow behind me that it placed is kind of cool. And the colors may have become a bit washed out, but it also may have tried to apply the tinge or temperature of this specific lighting into the photo as well. So I'm not going to 100% knock it on that. I really, yeah, it's still December. It would be justifiable to get a few of these printed at a high rate of speed and then send them to people. I want to try this Markdown rendering test, which obviously I've created my own Markdown for, but I'm going to keep the newspaper prompt that's prepended to this, where basically it's supposed to just put in Markdown a bunch of different reasons why you should subscribe to Bijan Bowen, laid out in a natural style on a newspaper, and I've just given it some raw Markdown here. Okay, it did okay. The corners of the newspaper do look good, as well as the coffee cup, the pen, and then the adjacent, like a graphic notebook or something of the sort. Overall, I'm not 100% blown away with this. However, something I do find interesting is there's almost some level of transparency to the paper this is printed on, in the way that you can actually see text which would be printed in the backside of this, were this actually a real thing. So it's interesting. It did an acceptable job here, and I will say it did a good job laying out the Markdown in terms of having the bold correctly highlighted, having the list properly like structured. So there's nothing very off here or weird. Even if it does look a bit stale and digital, it did do a proper job. Now I'm just asking it to generate a photo of the best YouTube creator. No way! No, it actually just did this. One would expect. I'm now just going to kind of descend into chaos here. I'm having it generate a portrait photo of someone standing in the checkout line at Microcenter, realizing they're not going to make it to the loo or bathroom. Again, this like blur preview is really, it's weird. This is actually not bad. So we see checkout there of Microcenter. See, I enjoy this form of testing more, to be completely honest. I think one of the final things I'm going to do is give it a photo of myself with a robot, ask it to turn it into a movie poster for the most terrifying psychological thriller ever released, titled Megabot 47. Oh no. The worst nightmare imaginable has been engineered. Megabot 47, this psychological thriller of pure terror. Okay, kind of like freshman year, you learn how to use Photoshop and you make an image of yourself. It's different. For the final thing, I'm just asking it to generate a hilarious image that only an LLM would understand, and it must not make sense to any humans. Tensor waffle? GPT LH question mark. There's a llama WQJKV 0101. It looks like a the more I look at this, the more terrifying this gets. This is really quite disturbing. Just this right here is absolutely, this should have been the psychological thriller result. This is Tensor waffle. We have to ask another LLM to explain this to us. Well, Claude definitely seemed to take more out of this than I did, so that's actually a good thing. It's poking fun at the chaotic, jargon-filled world of AI and machine learning. Okay, I guess I can respect that. I still find it quite terrifying. I do want to try one final image editing test. I'm going to just take a photo of the screenshot of the OpenAI homepage with the browser bar visible and everything like that, because I want this to be a portion of the test, not the homepage, but just the about page. And I'm going to ask it to add myself into that image there as if I'm in the office as well. So I'm just saying add the man into the conference room photo with emphasis on realism. And I want to see if it replicates the entire screenshot or if it just goes ahead and kind of gives us only this photo, as I would prefer to have the entire screenshot as I would like it to generate the full image. That's not bad. It didn't keep the full screenshot, it just picked out this photo. But if we do look at them side by side, it kept the stickers on the laptop and it just moved this gentleman over to his left, my right, you know what I mean. And then it added me in there as well. Not bad. And dimensions here are more realistic than what we saw with that Saab 900 portrait photo. So overall, that's not too bad. So that's going to conclude our first look and testing of the newly released ChatGPT Images model, or whatever you'd like to refer to this as. It's almost akin to like an experience or something of that sort. But basically, it's a new image generation model. It does seem to have significantly increased capability over what previously existed, which is a good thing. And I have more difficulty objectively judging these image generation models because image generation by nature is very subjective, in my opinion. It's easier to take a look at a website generation and be like, wow, this looks like crap, or wow, this looks great. That kind of falls apart when trying to judge images. I'm going to say, first and foremost, the thing that we saw out the gate with the Agent Bootman poster was by far the most disturbing result I've ever seen in any of these models that I've tested that with. That's not to say it was bad, it's to say it was relatively disturbing. I think aside from that, some other things that perhaps stood out the most, as much as I hate to say it, this was really kind of one of the winners of today's test, which was, a few iterations, as it has titled this, Holding Technology with Love. That was quite something. This AI meme was just disturbing in some level that I don't quite understand. This holiday card, again, I may have to go to my Shutterfly or whatever it's called and get some of these printed and just send them to people, because I would find that to be quite hilarious. This was disturbing. This makes me think about perhaps changing up some of my thumbnails to a more obnoxious style. This was perhaps not great. And then, oh yeah, the books. And then, of course, we just have to return to where we started, which was... that's where I'm going to leave this off. So that is the new ChatGPT Images. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Preferably not on this one. I don't want to respond to any specific things here, unless you're talking about, of course, our favorite snack, Doquitos. So with that, all right, that's going to conclude it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.